What's up, everyone? It's Scotty with Money Vesting. So lots of consolidation for the market sideways, not a surprise. And QQQ is here ending flat on the day ahead of the big tech earnings coming out later this week. So don't forget, Microsoft and Google are the first ones to report tomorrow after the bell. So QQQ is only down about 21 basis points. We had the S&P 500 just up over 9 basis points. The Dow Jones slightly higher, up over 20 basis points as well. We were actually much lower during the day, but then we did have some buyers step in. Why? Because we were at that lower bound of that range, lower part of that range where support stepped in. So I'll go over that chart in just a minute. So hope you guys are doing great and are having a great start to your week. As always, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. The link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us and getting access to that 16% annual discount. Don't forget that annual discount does expire at the end of this month. And of course, that'll give you access to all the buy and sell alerts. I did ended up selling a Tesla put option at a specific strike with a nice premium as part of our wheel strategy. So again, if you want to access all those alerts and get access to a community of 3,700 members talking about fundamental, technical analysis, investing, trading, macroeconomics, stocks and options pretty much every day, link's going to be down below. And I do also want to point out that we are doing private live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So this right here is the schedule, which I do release the links out to everybody when I'm doing those live streams. And in those live streams, we actually do talk about actual actionable trade ideas. That's the goal, right? For me to help you so that you can actually make money and take advantage of those opportunities, those ideas. And this was the day trade that we were talking about where we got rejected exactly at 317.51 for the QQQs. And I mentioned that I'm now watching the support area, which is the green rectangle, for a potential long trade on a TQQQ. And well, long behold, what happened? We pretty much came down perfectly to this green rectangle. I can also show you over here. This was the chart. You can see that we pretty much sold right back down. This is the 5-minute chart. So you can see that we got rejected here. I was live with my members during that time. We got rejected, sold right back down, 1.22% intraday sell-off. And then we came down to that support, almost perfectly got bought out from these levels and pushed up close to over 75, 80 basis points, which if you compare that to TQQQ, is a very solid move to the upside. That's a nice scalp of a little bit over 2.2% intraday. So again, if you want to get access to all these, I mentioned that I was past this need to take advantage, but we got a perfect bounce off of that support area as discussed during our private live stream. We still are within range for the QQQs. Congrats if you took the trade. So again, if you want to access all these, links going to be down below. So this is the calendar for tomorrow and for the upcoming week. We got Microsoft, Google, Enphase, Visa, Chipotle, all these companies reporting. I've already done videos on Microsoft, Google, Enphase, and Visa. Already the videos are out. We'll be doing one on Chipotle, and then we'll most likely be talking about McDonald's, 3M, PepsiCo, and Spotify, some of those other companies as well. And then, of course, later this week, we've got Meta, already done a video on Meta, and we've got Caterpillar, Eli Lilly, Intel, Snapchat, Cloudflare, and Amazon as well. So lots of videos, lots of content, lots of earnings coming out. So tomorrow really is when the actual week begins, and market are most certainly going to find that direction moving forward, and most likely will break either to the upside or the downside. But bottom line is that we are going to see a very directional resolution. And I also shared with all the members a new chart over here, which again, we've talked about it in a lot of detail for potential swing trading ideas and where I would be potentially long on SQQQ or TQQQ from a swing trading perspective. So NASDAQ closes lower Monday as investors prepare for big tech earnings. So Wall Street is looking ahead to the mega cap tech earnings results this week in what will mark the halfway point for earnings season. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta are among the high interest names scheduled to announce their results for the first quarter. Apple is going to be in the first week of May. Everyone's just waiting for tech earnings, and that's really what it is. And this is a very, very busy week for earnings, so we're just treading the waters. It's really just a calm before the storm. Very, very calm waters is what I meant to say, is what we are seeing right now. But Chris Zaccarelli, Chief Investment Officer at Independent Advisor Alliance, says, and I quote, "But it may be difficult for tech stocks to rally on the back of financial reports after already advancing significantly this year. And communication services and IT stocks within the S&P 500 posted the biggest year-to-date gains of all the index's 11 total sectors, adding more than 19 and 18% respectively." So again, this is just really about the concentrated market breadth, and we're not really seeing a broad-based rally yet for the market. A lot of the good news is already priced in, he says, and it's going to take a lot more from tech earnings this week to really move the needle on the stock prices. Roughly 76% of S&P 500 companies that have reported quarterly results through Monday morning beat analyst expectations. However, the first quarter earnings S&P 500 companies are estimated to decline overall by 5.2%. So that is still a little bit lower than the 6.1, 6.7% from previous months. So we're getting a little bit better, but at the same time, we're still expected to decline. And not to mention that analyst estimates have been coming down. They've been revised down so much so that now companies are, quote, beating these estimates, but because of the fact that they've come down already. So this right here is the market. Tesla down, Amazon down, Microsoft down. So Tesla put is already up close to 18% for us because we were able to take advantage of that premium when Tesla was trading under 160, trading as low as 159, 158. And as soon as it started moving higher, the put option also started gaining value because it's a cash secured put. So it's already up 18%. Amazon up 70 basis points here. Microsoft down 1.4. Apple slightly higher, more or less flat. NVIDIA, Intel, AMD, all really just flat. Intel was slightly lower though. ExxonMobil, Chevron, so energy prices getting a bit of a rebound. And energy stocks were pushing higher. They also do report on Friday before the bell. So energy was the big leader on the day, followed by materials, utilities, consumer defensives, healthcare, industrial, comm services, pushing higher. But then we had technology, real estate, and consumer cyclicals all pulling back. Over the last 1 week, it is a pretty mixed market. And over the last 1 month, we've got all 11 sectors still very much pushing higher, still very much green in the last 1 month. Sugar prices, lean hogs, and orange juice pushing higher with rough rice, natural gas, and lumber prices pulling back. Bitcoin's a little bit back over 27,000 and Ether is just over 1,800 at the moment. So talking about volatility, we are back down. Once again, it's kind of been an interesting, few days where we have seen volatility tried to actually spike. It's been starting off its days with 4 or 5% green, and then it ends up settling right back down, and markets also end up getting bought up back higher. Crude oil here is seeing a little bit of a rebound, and as a result, energy prices pushed up, and so did energy stocks. So Occidental, Devon Energy, ExxonMobil, Chevron, they were all pushing up 1.5, close to 2%. Again, Bitcoin here consolidating sideways. It does look pretty weak, so I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up at 25,000. And Ether also doesn't look pretty strong, considering that it has been selling off. RSI, again, selling right back down as well. 1740, 1700 is going to be that support level to pay attention to. Now, in terms of the 10-year yields, they are now starting to rotate back lower, so they're back under 3.5%. We've got the spread still sitting at negative 60 basis points between the 10 and the 2-year. Still a good representation of a potential recession impending or incoming here, but we are still making some improvement from where we were just a few months ago at negative 110 basis points. So we are pushed higher, but we are still pretty negative in terms of that inversion in the yield curve. Now, talking about the markets, S&P 500 more specifically. So another doji candle on the week, at least to start us off. And we're seeing a lot of consolidation in that range. So again, we've talked about how the markets are just trading sideways every time we get down to that level at 4,100, 4,095, around those levels, we get bought up. And right now we have 4,100 as a very, very important support level to watch for the S&P, not to mention a resistance sitting all the way up to 4,200. So right now, all we're really witnessing is a lot of consolidation sideways, and eventually once the earnings are out and the Fed meeting is over with on May 3rd, I feel pretty confident that we're going to see the markets get a much more directional stance. In other words, we're going to either break out or break down. And again, nobody really knows that, right? We know that one of the other outcomes are going to happen, but nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen because nobody can predict the stock market 100% guaranteed. Our job is simply to react on what's going on, right? That's one of the way, like in trading, it's not great to be proactive because if you are proactive, you're really gambling on any binary event, right? It's much better in trading to be reactive and really trade based on your risk and reward. So if you do see a potential break to the upside right past 4,200, next target is going to be 4,330. That's going to be the level to watch. And if you do break down below this level, the next target, unfortunately, as low as it is, it's going to be closer to 3775, very much in line from December and even more recently from back in March when the S&P did sell off a little bit over 8.7, close to 9%. So we're once again starting to stall sideways, and that's really where the level is. And same thing is happening with the NASDAQ, where We're really just, again, trading sideways here. We got rejected exactly at this level from back in February. And right now we're just consolidating sideways. And this is the zoomed in version of the QQQs where you are really seeing a lot of consolidation in that range. So 30-minute chart, you can see just going sideways. April, we have not made any progress, but we have also not given up on any ground here because we're really just trading in that range. For QQQ sitting at 314 to as low as 312, and resistance at 319 to as much as 321. So those right there are going to be some levels to watch, and NASDAQ very much also inside this bear camp at the moment, with our bear sitting right here. And we'll continue to monitor this if it can break out or if it's going to start to pull right back down. And this is going to be that support level to watch. Another thing that I pointed out with all of our members in our private live stream was the fact that NASDAQ here is at the same resistance from back in February. It's at the same resistance from back in September. And it's at the same resistance from back in June, right? So you can see the red arrows over here. It's at the same level from those months that I just mentioned. But if you take a look at NDX, which is NASDAQ 100, the story is completely different. This right here are the resistances from back in June, from back in September, from back in February. And look where we are. We are not at those levels, right? We are in fact a little bit higher. So we have already broken out of those previous resistances, and they are now in fact acting as a support for the NASDAQ 100. Why? Because NASDAQ 100 has a higher concentration of big tech stocks. That's why it has already broken out. Since the NASDAQ composite's a little bit more diversified, we are already at a resistance. We're getting halted here. But since NASDAQ 100 is only 100 stocks instead of thousands, and 50% of them are made up of Meta and Apple and Microsoft and Amazon and all these big tech companies, it's already broken out, and it's now starting to validate that as a new support for the NASDAQ. So that's where we are at the moment. And talking a little bit about Apple now. Apple slightly higher, 19 basis points, but it is incredibly overbought here, not to mention RSI and the MACD, but support level is going to stay put at 157, 158 on a more intermediate term. Resistance all the way up to 177 for Apple moving forward. And this right here is still the lower high and the lower low pattern for Apple. Talking about Amazon here getting a little bit of a pullback, down 70 basis points. So this right here is going to turn into a new support for Amazon. So we'll go ahead and turn this level into a new support at 103, 104 for Amazon, and resistance is going to stay put at 114 to as much as 115 for Amazon moving forward. So that right there is going to be the target. Support level is going to stay put at 104. We are now starting to see a little bit of a breakout, similar to what we saw in the past. But the real question is, can it break out above this resistance moving forward or not? Talking about Tesla, and Tesla here once again consolidating sideways. So it did come down to as low as 158. And again, we took the opportunity to sell a cash secured put. And right now it is once again getting bought up from those levels, but still struggling because now we've got a big resistance at 170s. So this right here is now going to be a resistance for Tesla. And we've got a decent gap to fill to the upside as well, but we've also got a bigger gap to fill on the downside. So those right there are going to be some levels to watch. Support level all the way down to 130, which is also somewhat in line with my fair value for Tesla right now. Talking about NVIDIA still getting bought up. In fact, so much so, it's absolutely crazy where its 21 EMA is. It is at 267.73. We did get a little bit of a potential breakdown here, but NVIDIA was not able to close below that level. We were still seeing buyers stepping in. So in fact, we closed back above 270. So buyers know. I mean, this is not a surprise. This is not a some coincidence or something. There's technical traders that are watching that level very closely at the 21 EMA, and 267.73. We're just not cracking below that level. It's just been validating that level for quite some time. Even on Friday, we came down, perfectly validated that level before selling right back down. So there is a lot of support for NVIDIA there, but if we do end up breaking down below this level, there is potential for more downside for NVIDIA moving forward. So right now, we pretty much gapped up, came right back down to fill that gap, and right now we're just consolidating at that 21 EMA. The moment it cracks, the moment of truth begins. AMD down almost 1%, so we are seeing a little bit of a pullback for AMD. Not a surprise, something that we were expecting. Support level is going to stay put down to $79 to $80 a share, so this right here is going to be that level to watch. And right now we are starting to see a bit of a pullback for both the RSI and the MACD. And like I said, resistance is going to stay put at 102, 103, support all the way down to $79 to $80 per share. Talking a little bit about PayPal now, and PayPal here on the day was flat. Again, not really moving all that much, consolidating sideways. So nothing really to go over on PayPal, but fair value is going to stay put at close to $70, and we are still getting rejected at this lower high, and support all the way down to as low as $67 per share for PayPal. Talking about Square, up over 1.6%, so a little bit of momentum for Square to the upside. So 64.50 is where it's at. This right here, still going to be that lower high and lower low for this company. Resistance all the way up to $68, $69. So that right there is going to be that lower high to watch for Square moving forward. So that right there is going to be that downtrending channel for this company, with the support staying put at $58, $59 per share. Talking a little bit about Meta platforms, and Meta here on the day flat, not really moving all that much, down about 5 basis points, and really that resistance is going to be at 222. So we're not, breaking out above that level, but of course earnings will change that after this week. We're either going to break the upside pretty aggressively, or we're going to see 198, 199, this right here getting validated as a support once again. So right now we're seeing a little bit of a pullback. So Meta is down from 222 down to about 5% here. RSI MACD also don't look super great, but we'll continue to monitor, and support level is going to be 198, resistance at 222. Talking about Netflix, and Netflix here, just flat, sideways, still inside this symmetrical triangle. So you can see that we are making these lower highs and these higher lows for Netflix, and we are just consolidating sideways after the earnings. Earnings I've already broken down in a separate video, but if you do end up selling off, this right here is going to be that support at close to $309, $310. And as we continue to trade inside the symmetrical triangle, eventually, of course, we're going to see a much bigger move for Netflix. Resistance at 380, support at 275 for this company. Talking about Google, and Google here also consolidating sideways very much, only up about 80 basis points, so not really much to go over, but they are reporting earnings tomorrow, so it's going to be quite interesting. Lots of consolidation. I've already done a video on Google, so make sure that you do check that out if you haven't already, but resistance is going to stay put over here at close to $109, with the support staying put at close to $101, $102 per share. So lots of consolidation sideways in that range for Google. And last few, we got Microsoft, and Microsoft also reporting tomorrow. Our short play is starting to pay out a little bit on this, down 1.4%. Again, this is one of our trade ideas on the short side, so it's now starting to play through a little bit better. And again, valuation is a little bit more expensive. We've got the RSI, the MACD, and the pricing itself. Everything is lining up for potential Microsoft pullback here. We'll continue to see if earnings can accelerate that process for Microsoft to sell off even further down to 245, 246. So that's going to be the one to watch also. And last but not least, we got Shopify, and Shopify on the day was down about 1.88%. So really just drifting slowly and steadily higher. Resistance is going to be at $54, $55, with a support at $41, $42 per share for Shopify moving forward. So bottom line is the markets are very much waiting for the earnings and of course the Fed meeting. That's really what's going to be the most important piece. But right now, lots of consolidation, sideways action. We are still in that range for individual stocks, and for not to mention for QQQs as well. So again, if you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us for the first time. The link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below. There is a 16% annual discount with limited spots left if you want to take advantage of that. Get access to all the private live streams, day trading opportunities, swing trading opportunities, and of course all the buy-ins alerts, options alerts, trade ideas, and private videos and member benefits as well. So it's always happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.